Distinguished guests and friends, it's always a pleasure to welcome you at the IGF in London. But we gather here somewhat with heavy hearts. The tragic Air India crash last week was not just a transport disaster. It was a painful reminder of the human threads that weave the relationship between our two great nations. On board were students, professionals, tourists, families, each one a living example of the bridge that connects our nations. Our thoughts and prayers are with their loved ones. Their loss reminds us of what's at stake and deepens our resolve to make the UK-India partnership not just stronger, but more humane, more responsive and more purposeful.
The next 30 years. So imagine an economy which is growing in US dollar terms almost by 10% a year, doubling every 8 years. By 2047, when we celebrate 100 years of independence,
was William Shakespeare. But I challenge you, if you did not know the end of Romeo and Juliet, you'd be sitting on the edge of your seat. You knew at the age of 7, 8, 9, 10 what happened to Richard II. You followed the words of Hamlet. Do you know, if I had a wish, it would be to remove every piece of knowledge I have on William Shakespeare and start again. Why? Because he's a storyteller as well as the greatest writer.
India's ambitions, I mean, in terms of the global picture, manufacturing and supply chains, I mean, India has some pretty seismic ambitions. Just speak a bit more about that in terms of the global trading system and where India is going to be in that.
when I look at India's current contribution to global trade, it clearly demonstrates a huge possibility to grow in the future. Over the last few years, our focus on quality and better quality standards so that India is recognized world over as a producer of quality goods or a supplier of quality services. Our focus on creating capacities to scale. Our focus on
every single time. If you don't love someone by page 10 and you don't dislike someone by page 10, you won't bother with page 11.
Is it page 10 or even 5 or 4? Why do you say page 10?
Well, I confess that currently I read to page 30 before I make a decision.
Is that your sort of rule?
Put it down.
Yeah.
But it's if I care about that person and where they are.
The protagonist.
And what sometimes, both,
or both, right?
the hero, the protagonists are easy to write.
Yeah.
If you
haven't written so many books, but which one of yours do you feel emotionally attached to?
I've written 11 actually.
It's not bad.
I've written
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 50, I've got 10.
What's
We're comparing.
what's your one of your choices to?
So I like non-fiction as well.
Yes.
And in fact, it's very difficult to pick one book.
No, that's
Okay,
right.
but let me answer. Of my non-fiction, right? Because there are 2 books I wrote with my sister. They are non-fiction books. We are 3 brothers.
It's the story where 3 millennials form a deep friendship in Goa and embark on a journey of healing and self-discovery.
Okay, so 3 friends come together. You didn't mention Goa.
Goa.
Goa. Goa. And there's a hospital in there somewhere. Somehow a doctor is smuggled a hospital in. Yogesh, tell us about the kill switch.
So the kill switch is a high stakes site actually. One hand we have an app program that has capacity.
Where's the one who's
Yogesh, are you there with us still? He is. I think there might be a
technical rukavat ke liye kare. All right. And considering how well the pound was doing, I'm unhappy I didn't convince you for 25,000 pounds.
I am absolutely.
Yeah, as I told or suggested by you. Alright, the winner.
Oh, wait a minute.
You have a speech prepared?
Exactly.
I don't have a speech prepared, and I think even if I had one prepared, I would have forgotten it.
You said you wouldn't give up your day job, Charlotte.
Have you changed your mind?
I think I'm starting to think about it now.
What will it allow you, the money? Will it allow you, as you say, more freedom, maybe take some more time off? Are you planning the next few books already now?
Yes, I am writing my next book.
Yes.
And this would definitely allow me to take time off, to devote more time dedicated to writing that book. I'd write it faster, write it better. That is the main thing, that yes, it allows us to move beyond writing as just a hobby and something that I have to steal that 1 hour for, and I can give it the amount of time that I want.
Well, having read your book, I must say, very worthy winner. Is the next one going to be about contemporary India as well, or are you going to go and plunder the middle?
The next one is also about contemporary India, but in a different setting.
Shalini Malik, a huge round of applause for you, and many
Great, well done. You may.
I'm Mark Barton. Very warm welcome from me as well. Thanks to all our sponsors, our wonderful sponsors, for their invaluable support. We do gather here today, not just to mark another edition of IGF, but to witness history unfolded. 10 years ago, when Prime Minister Modi visited the UK with his vision of one glorious future, few could have predicted how profoundly that promise would reshape our world. Just 1 month ago, on May the 6th, in case you forgot, that vision crystallized into reality with the signing of the landmark Free Trade Agreement. Indeed, yeah. Every time, it's a game by the way, every time, yes.
Fair comment. I much enjoyed, if you're talking recently,
yes,
rather than picking the greats, I much enjoyed Gentlemen in Moscow by Amor Towles. I thought that was really a page turner.
Yeah.
I actually read more non-fiction than fiction.
Okay.
There are 2 books I'm reading together. There's this thinker called Ray Kurzweil, who's been listed as among the top 20 most brilliant thinkers of the US in the last 200 years. So there are 2 books, Singularity is Near and Singularity is Nearer.
Right.
I'm reading both of them. Much of what is actually happening in the world today in terms of tech, AI, he predicted it 20 years ago in Singularity is Near. And fascinating thinker. And Singularity is Nearer is like an adaptation to it. Based on
Oh no, it's the Indians that they never educated. Beware of Pity by Stefan Zweig is a masterpiece. Allow me to do the first paragraph. When I came into the room, he was sitting on the other side of the table. Of course, like every one of my countrymen, I wanted to meet him. But sadly had been placed not within speaking distance. And as I left to go home and got my coat, he came up and stood by me.
Right with the honors, do you want an
envelope?
No envelope, there was an email. This is as high-tech as they
I
come.
remember there was a spat between the 2 of them.
There was.
Alright. You want to do the honors or should
No.
I? Alright. First we got to say, and this we genuinely mean, right? All 3 were fantastic. It was actually a long debate. We had to speak for an hour to have a final decision. I'm going to do. You'll learn my specs.
All I will tell you,
Alright?
all I will tell you is, having read the 3, I genuinely could not make up my mind. And I rang Ganesh and said, look, I was praying there would be one that shouted at me. But they were all three good. So I'd like to say thank you to all three people who put in so much hard work and deserve to be the winner. Well done, them. Now, Amy will now tell us, are the three...
I will. Before that...
Wait, where are the three?
Two of them are there. One of them is joining us online.
And a treasure hunt that revolves around a healing device that can magically cure any ailment. It has two women 200 years apart who are caught up and their destinies entwined around the Navapashna.
I'd also say, I think we both like to recognise our teams and people who we work with who did a brilliant job on this as well. But yes, I always, and again, I think you talked about this pitch, I believe that India is one of the most exciting countries in the world and actually one of the most important. I think the problems we face globally, I can't see any way to fix those without India playing a leading role. It was obviously going to be a priority for me and the team, and as you said before, I originally came to see you in opposition, and so when I was in opposition, and you were, as ever, doing lots of successful trade negotiations around the world, I said, look, because we've got an election in the UK and you have yours, I want you to not do this deal with the Conservative government in the UK. I want you to do it, and I want you to have confidence that we would honour that if we became a Labour government in the UK, because it's so important. It goes beyond politics. We've got to see if we can land this, and I said if it wasn't done, we would pick it up and take it on, and that is what we did. And I felt, and again, from that first moment we had, and we invited me around your house, which was incredibly kind. Just